Alright, so this video will be on the space race and how it affected mathematics and how it's taught. Well, the teaching of mathematics. Alright, so first I will show off my drawing skills and totally freehand my knowledge of USSR because of the space race during Cold War in the USA. So Russia, USSR, has a kind of peninsula up there, I believe. It kind of stretches down, goes into, yeah, this whole part is like Eastern Europe. It's very rough. Sorry for all the Russians watching this. And then, yeah, I'll just squiggle my way through this. Then it like gets to China, and then it curves a bit. Another peninsula by the coast, I'm pretty sure. Yep, Mongolia, China, stuff like that. That's over there. And you have this peninsula close to the Bering Strait. Whatever. This isn't a geography lesson. This is supposed to cover mathematics. So either way. And very rough. It's also more curved because of the Arctic Circle. So it's just a bad drawing altogether. But either way. USSR, Soviet Union. And then we have the United States. I might be able to do a better job on that. We'll see. Coast, California, stuff like that. It's a little bit longer than that. And it curves in all the Midwestern states. And we have like Texas. This distance is a little longer than it should be. There's Texas. Like Louisiana there. Florida. Florida has a little bump right there. Going up. Alright, let's go across. Technically, this is a pretty darn straight line. And then you have, yeah, there you go, Michigan. Something over there. Like going into almost New York after a little bit. Then Maine and stuff like that. Yeah, whatever. This is very rough. Either way, United States. Now you just spent 3 minutes watching this, and so you have a lot of time on your hands. Nice. So this is 19. Let's change colors here. 45. There's the Cold War to 1991. All right. So what exactly was the Cold War? Well, it was kind of a war. It wasn't it had wars inside of it, like what we'd call like proxy wars, little small wars that, well, big wars actually, that USA and USSR funded both sides of, but they wouldn't directly attack each other. The US and Soviet Union would not directly attack each other. That was the Cold War. Lots of people say it started in 46. I'd argue it just started right after the war because it was so weird as a war. It's kind of just like a nuclear arms, like that was the threat during this whole period of time. Either way, the important thing though is the space race, which happened, I believe, I would put it at 1957, the space race. And it went from 1957 to about 1975, I believe. Which is interesting because it ended quite a bit before Soviet Union basically collapsed and the Cold War officially ended, we'd say. Alright, so why do we care about the space race? And what does it have to do with math history whatsoever? It's interesting, actually. So here's the scenario, and this is why it started in 1957. 1957, Russia released Sputnik. Looks more like a spider than a satellite, but it's a rocket. I'm not a rocket, but yeah, they use rocket technology in order to release it into space. Either way, so this went around the Earth, screaming like beep, you know. Freaked us out because like radio transmissions and everyone could pick this out from space. And so we had what, I don't know, I guess historians might call it like the Sputnik crisis. And during this period of time, they got to space first. Like, crisis. So Russia got to space first. The Soviet Union got to space. And so we kind of freaked out. And I don't know, we didn't get to space yet. And so, I don't know, we need to compete with them. We need to get into space as soon as possible. We launched a rocket from like Cape Canaveral, I believe. And it completely, it's drawn red. This is our rocket. Missile, actually, I believe. And it went up and down after 2 seconds. And it's just a dud. People call it we make up like all sorts of weird words based off of Sputnik, like Dudnik or something like that. Either way, absolute failure, and it was telecast. I'm like on TV, I believe, and so that even worse, kick in the face. And so not only could USSR get things into space, they can now send, say, nukes into space and have it go all the way around the world and hit us anywhere. And that was scary for a lot of people. I think it's scary for most. And so we need to compete with them. And unfortunately, all our the main scientists that we had were from like Germany, even Russia, Soviet Union, had their scientists leading like rocket scientists from Germany. And so we needed, as a country, more scientists. Let's draw one with like a vial because that's what they hold, that is the scientist. But not only that, we needed just more people to compete in a what would you call it? In a, I don't know. We just need more scientists in the workforce, and so we could compete with them, like physical scientists as well. So how would we do that? Well, guess who had a great idea? The Department of Education. Actually, Congress. So Congress passed a law in like 1958, passed an act, and it sent a ton of money, like probably 200 million every year to be put into education. And they really pushed for education to teach these physical sciences. More bubbles. Why not? And so that ultimately was a bad idea because what we did with it, the Department of Education come in here, and what they did is they made math more rigorous, so more difficult. Let's write that. More rigorous. I always think I'm spelling that word wrong. They made math more rigorous. And that ultimately was a huge problem. It actually, in a sense, backfired. I mean, over history, we usually consider this moment a good thing. It was a moment in which we got a lot of money devoted to education. And that's true. We did. But on the unfortunate side, by making math more rigorous, we made it just a ton more hard. That was probably bad English, but it's a space race's fault. Now actually blaming the space race for our hate of math, our being like the U.S., even globally, it's kind of hated, would be wrong. I mean, what happened by doing this is you have generations of parents who grow up with their parents not liking math because it was taught in such a hard way and basically only drove home, let's change colors for any reason, we drove home practicality, which isn't the way you teach anything. practicality is, it's like, it's the as an idea, like being practical. Yes, it's very nice. We can be practical all the time, do a lot of practical things, but by teaching for only practicality, you're not going to get anyone to like the concept you're teaching. And so that was the problem. So we have generations of parents who pass on this dislike of math, and then you also have less people being coming into this field of science, which is ultimately bad for our society. But that's an argument for another day. Either way, that wasn't the only problem. In fact, in 1945 or 1943, I'm going to say 43, um, a famous mathematician from Germany named von Neumann. I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it. Either way, he actually said something along the lines of he envisions a near future in which mathematics will be hated because of mathematics will fall, basically, because we'll lose the recreation. Lose. That's sloppy. The recreation behind its greatest ideas. Some along those lines. I'm definitely paraphrasing. I haven't read the actual quote for it. Behind its greatest ideas. So he basically noticed that I don't know, we kept teaching mathematics and using it as it's more of a utility by this time than it was a just another study. And so this was a problem that he noticed. But we can actually go much further than that. In fact, let's go into the history of education. This is going to be a quick history because, again, the idea here is that honestly, it's not your fault for disliking math. It's many people's faults for us disliking math, and it's very useful to know math. Just the fact that we thought that it was a great idea to drive home practicality was because math is so useful and applicable. Either way, so quick history of education. So, ancient history, and I'll actually say prehistory, like before we knew about humans existing as a group, to ancient history. The way we taught things was kind of the way animals taught things, and as far as we know. And that was kind of just like families would teach each other, and you'd learn as a group and tribes and stuff like that. So it's kind of a group experience learning. That's a weird way to put it, but experience learning. All right. So that was like prehistory, ancient history. Now, once you get into the ancient world and bring it to actually like all the way to about the 1500s, like that'd be Common Era, 80. I don't know, I like the Common Era just because it's different. When you get to this period of time, let's draw arrows. When you get to this period of time, what happened is we'd have like schools and we'd have groups of people teaching ideas that they just thought of, and it was as recreational as it kind of could have got. And we just think about how we applied numbers to things and stuff like that. The only problem is, so either way, yeah, we taught we just taught things for the love of knowledge, which is actually the literal definition of philosophy. Philosophy. Yeah, you're not gonna get much good spelling from me. So yeah, is all about like teaching philosophy in like Greek times, and we've taught other things like just like our trades and stuff like that. That's another thing that was taught. Now the only problem is that oftentimes these things were only like they were elitist. They were only for the people that could afford it or that were of a higher social class. That wasn't always the case, but was most often the case. And actually, 1500s to, I'm going to say, like 1800, like turn of the century, the way we taught things was largely uh it became more elitist, I'd say. But we'd usually have tutors. And tutors were something you pay for. And so if you didn't have the money, you couldn't afford tutors and you couldn't access a standard education. Now, yeah, that was a problem. But now 1800s, it's both good and bad. Same with that space race thing. In the 1800s, what happened was, well, Industrial Revolution. That was the thing that happened in the United States and then worldwide. That was this idea of like having machines be able to accomplish tasks that we normally always do by hand, and so it made things faster, and that was nice. However, it's generally accepted that that influenced education too. We thought we can teach things faster and teach it in a wider span, in a wider group. And so the nice thing is that it was no longer elitist and it was way more accessible. Accessible. The bad thing, though, let's write in red because, red, bad. The bad thing, though, is that we kind of destroyed a bit of the recreation of every thing you learn in school. I don't think school was ever thought of for quite a while, depending on where you went to school, at least. Thought of as just a fun thing and a thing that at one time people just did for fun and did because it's interesting. So we kind of got rid of it, recreation, and that's kind of lame. So that's that history, and then going into 1900s, we're adapting our education system. It's getting better, getting worse every now and then, but either way, less and less though we're driving education because we haven't. I don't know. When you have practicality, it's so tempting to just say, "Okay, that's all you need to teach. That's perfect." Like just teach someone only the useful stuff. And when you have that mindset when teaching, you're limiting what you can accomplish. I don't think we would have gone to space if we had only thought about practicality. No, in fact, we were largely against going to space for the first bit of time, and we thought it was completely ridiculous. Like Eisenhower thought it was stupid to go all the way to the moon, largely in part because we didn't think it could be done, but we couldn't have accomplished that without recreation in these fields of learning. So that's all I'm getting at, and thanks for watching.